Hello all you beautiful people out there, I am Mrs. Realistic. Welcome back to the channel. I got a request for something that I've never heard of called Don't Stay in School by Boyinaband. Now for those of you who don't know me, my husband and I have 3 children and we homeschool, so Don't Stay in School sounds very interesting. Without further ado, let's get into it.
I wasn't taught how to get a job, but I can remember dissecting a frog. I wasn't taught how to pay tax, but I know loads about Shakespeare's classics. I was never taught how to vote. They devoted that time to defining isotopes. I wasn't taught how to look after my health, but mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Never spent.
So I see where this is going, and this guy has got fantastic hair, very much like mine. Might I add? I have really put trigonometry to work in my life. Said no one ever, unless you're an engineer. I don't know. But I have literally never used trigonometry. And in 11th grade, I think I had 99% in that portion of math. I loved it. I was really good at it. Ask me to do it now, I wouldn't remember. Sine, cosine, and tangent. That's about all I remember. We dissected a cow's eyeball in 9th grade, and we were supposed to dissect a baby pig in 10th grade. My best friend and I bowed out and left to the library because I couldn't do it. These things are fantastic if you want to become a doctor, a biologist, but for the average people, none of what they learn, especially in high school, is ever used. I remember learning about the War of 1812, but don't ask me any specifics.
A lesson on current events. Instead I studied the old American West. I was never taught what laws there are. I was never taught what laws there are. Let me repeat, I was not taught the laws for the country I live in, but I know how Henry VIII killed his women, divorced, beheaded.
What are we teaching our kids? Sure, we had lots of really cool stuff. I talked about this in a previous video. We learned how to cook. We learned how to make a killer corn chowder in 8th grade. I learned how to sew Bermuda shorts. And in high school, we had woodworking and an actual car shop that all of my gearhead buddies brought their own cars in and got to work on for an hour and a half or whatever it was every single day. So we had some cool stuff. And, you know, a lot of those guys actually ended up becoming mechanics or fixing up their own cars with their dads or whatever it was. But not teaching children laws about the country in which they live, and then letting them go out into the world having no clue, and then possibly having parents who don't teach them any of it either, they're like flying blind.
Not taught the laws for the country I live in, but I know how Henry VIII killed his women, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Glad that's in my head instead of financial advice. I was shown the wavelengths of different hues of light, but I was never taught my human rights. Apparently there's 30. Do you know them? I don't. Why the hell can't we both recite them by rote? I know igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks, yet I don't know squat about trading stocks or how money works at all. Where does it come from? How does the thing that motivates the world function? Not taught to budget and disperse my earnings. I was too busy there rehearsing cursive. Didn't learn how much it costs to raise a kid and what an affidavit is, but I spent days on what the quadratic equation is. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. They made me learn that over basic first aid, or how to recognize the most deadly mental disorders or diseases with preventable causes, or how to buy a house with a mortgage if I could afford it, because abstract maths was deemed more important than advice that would literally save thousands of lives. But it's cool, because now I could tell you if the number of unnecessary deaths caused by that choice was prime. Never taught present-day practical medicines, but I was told what the ancient Hippocratic method is. I've got a headache, the pain is ceaseless, what should I take? Maybe try some leeches? Could we discuss domestic abuse and
Little bit of bloodletting, anyone? The fact that he is sort of making fun of all of this stuff, yet he's clearly a very intelligent young man because he probably saw through all the BS all throughout school. Now, some kids will thrive in a school environment. My kids have zero interest in going whatsoever. But that said, there's uses for all of this stuff. You know, we don't want to not know what happened in history. And so then what, you go to college to become a university professor to then teach history. I don't really know what kind of job a degree like that gets you. I read something funny, or it was a reel or a meme or something that I saw the other day, and it said something like, my child could learn more sitting at home staring at a blank wall than they could being at school for 8 hours a day. Now, I think that's a little bit of an overstatement, but especially with the way things are going now, they're learning less and less. They're not even probably learning this stuff anymore, and specifically in elementary school, they're not learning any of the basics anymore. We know what kind of stuff they're teaching, despite what many people say they're not teaching and that they don't have in school libraries, but I digress.
Ceaseless, what should I take? Maybe try some leeches? Could we discuss domestic abuse and get the facts? Or how to help my depressed friend with a mental state? No, but learn mental maths, because you won't have a calculator with you every day. They say it's not the kids, the parents are the problem. Then if you taught the kids to parent, that's the problem solved then. Or this advice about using a condom, but not for when you actually have a kid when you want one. I'm only fluent in this language, for serious, the rest of the world speaks too. Do you think I'm an idiot? I chose the solo over the political system, so like a typical citizen now I don't know what I'm voting on, which policies exist or how to make them change. Mais oui, je parle un peu de français. So at 18 I was expected to elect a representative for a system I had never ever been presented with.
I'm pretty positive that's the majority of adults. That's not even kids just out of school. They vote party line and they know none of the policies. And then when you ask them, why do you like this candidate, or why do you like this president, or why do you dislike this president, they don't really have an answer. It's because I was told XYZ. Nobody does their own research, and they certainly don't research any of the policies that are going to affect them locally, which I think is even more important. But none of that stuff is taught in school. They throw these things at you. You're supposed to memorize them, write them down on a test, get a big check mark. These grades are more important than any actual knowledge. And so then they come out of these schools with zero real life skills. And I think that's why it's getting worse and worse and worse, because public schools are failing at an even higher rate now. Learn a trade. I have family members, I have many friends who went to trade school. They earn amazing money and they don't have $100,000 in student loan debt. So unless you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, it seems like college degrees are kind of meaningless at this point.
Expected to elect a representative for a system I had never ever been presented with. But I won't take it. I'll tell everyone my childhood was wasted. I'll share it everywhere how I was educated, and insist these pointless things don't stay in school.
If you can't explain why a subject is applicable to most people's lives, that subject should not be mandatory. Amen to that. There's so much fluff that we're taught. There's certain things, reading, writing, arithmetic, sentence structure, certain things that will serve you better in your life if you know them. The other stuff is just fluff. Social studies, when have I used anything that I learned in social studies? I think the whole like I'm educated thing is just something that people with an elitist thought process use to make other people, or to look down on other people and make them feel crappy about their inadequacies. Introduce those topics, yes, but we should choose if we want to learn more. Nobody should be forced to learn something that isn't practically useful. Fantastic. What a great message. You know, and even people that out there are concerned with getting their kids into the right preschool. I mean, let them be children. You're not going to miss out on socialization because your child doesn't go to school at the age of 2. You're not even going to miss out on socialization if your child doesn't go to public school. My kids go out and play in the cul-de-sac with their buddies and play soccer, and we go play tennis, we go to the playground, we go to the skate park. They're interacting with not only their peers, but older and younger children and adults like the parents. Do you know how many really weird kids I know who go to school? And how many weird kids I went to school with? Going to school does not ensure that you're going to be properly socialized. In fact, I'd wager that Sometimes it's the opposite. It's that forced socialization with children that are only of their age. I don't really see that as beneficial. I've had people say to me, I'm surprised that your children are homeschooled. They're so outgoing. It's like they think that homeschooling means that you lock them in the house all day and keep them shackled to the bed like those weirdos over in California. Anyway, this was super funny, but kind of sad because it's a reality. But I'm glad that he put this message out here. I don't know what his actual name is, Boyinaband. I'll have to look that up. Thank you for this request. This was wonderful to listen to. I'm glad that somebody said it. So if you like what I do, please give me a thumbs up and a comment down below. Have a wonderful day. And as I always say, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.